Hello, I'm the programming coder, and in this Python beginner series, lesson 2, I'll be teaching you about data types, changing data types, and some operations in Python. So, let's get started. Now, there are 4 data types you need to know about, and those are strings, integers, floats, and booleans. Now, the first one, strings, we have used before. For example, this string. Now, what a string is basically these 2 quotation marks, and then anything inside that is called a string. Now, we have used strings before when typing the print function, for example. When I type up hello world inside the print function, that's a string. You can also assign strings to variables like this, and no error will come out of it because it's valid in Python. Now, you can also print out the variable, and that would work. Now, the second one are integers, like this, for example. Whoops. Now, what integers are basically any whole number, like 27 or 100 or 5. Those are integers. Now, I could say a equals 27, b equals 10, whoops, and I could say c equals a plus b, and these would all be integers. So, basically, integers are numbers that are whole or numbers that don't have decimals. Now, the third data type you need to know about are floats. And what floats are numbers with decimal places, like this, for example. Any number with a decimal place is a float. So I could say a equals 0.5, and a would be a float. I could say b equals 2.7, b would be a float. I could say c equals a plus b, and c would also be a float, as you can see. The last operation is booleans. Now, what booleans are either true or false values. And what true or false values are in Python mean either is it valid or is it invalid. And these come really important when making comparisons in Python, but we'll learn a bit about that later. For now, you know all you need to know about the 4 data types. Now it's time for a quick quiz for data types. For the first question, I love coding. What data type is this? If you said a string, you are correct. For the second one, true. What data type is this? If you said boolean, you are correct. For 0.06, what data type is this? If you said float, you are correct. For the next one, I know my data types. What data type is this? If you said string, again, you are correct. Now, for the next one, 19. What data type is this? If you said an integer, you are correct. For the last one, false. What data type is this? It is a boolean. And that is it for the quick quiz. Before we get into changing data types, you need to know about the type function. So, what the type function is, it is used to discover what data type a variable or already some type of value is. So, if I do it, it doesn't have anything, so it gives me an error. But if I put in something like an integer, for example, it would say class int. And if I put something else like a boolean, maybe, it's going to say class bool. So, using the type function, we can figure out what type or data type our variable is. So if I say a equals h, just to be fast, or b equals 27, and I say type a and type b, we can figure out what data type these variables are. Now, it's time to start changing data types. But first, we need to know about the 4 data type functions and reassignment. So, we have the string function for converting values to string data type. We have the int function for converting values to an integer data type. We have the float function for converting data types to the float data type. And we have the boolean function used to convert values to the boolean data type. Now, if I were to type something like a equals 27, and then we could look at the type of it, and of course we're going to get int, and then we would type float a, it's not going to change the value or the data type of a, it will still be an integer. And this is where reassignment will come in. Now what reassignment is you're basically making the variable equal to itself again, except it's altered a bit. So if I said a equals a plus 1, and then you looked at a, it'd be 28, not 27. So reassignment, you just use the same variable, but you change it a bit. So if I were to say instead a equals the float for a, and then we looked at the type, we will find that a is now a class float. And we can do this with multiple variables and change their data types this way. So let's try a bit more. So let's say b equals hello world, and then we want to change it to a boolean. So let's say b equals bool b, and then we can look at the type of b, and we will find that it is now class bool. So this is how you change data types to different data types. It's now time for your assignment for this lesson. For the first question, you have to make 4 variables equal to the 4 different data types that we learned today. For the next question, you have to use the type function to figure out what this data type is. For the next one, you have to make an integer data type into a string data type and then print it. For the next one, 49 question mark 47, which operations would make this true? 40 question mark 39, which operations would make this false? And then 10 question mark 10, which operations would make this true? And that's all for your assignment. It's now time for the answers to the assignment. So for the first question, you were asked to make 4 variables equal to the 4 different data types we learned today. So what I would do is I would say a is equal to a string, so hello world. I'd make b equal to an integer, so whatever integer. I'd make c equal to a float. I'd make d equal to a boolean. And this is the answer to the first question. For the second question, you're asked to make a type function and identify this data type. So what do you think? Well, if you do it, it's going to say float because you have a decimal point, even though it's technically a whole number. But the computer sees a decimal point, it says float. So for the third question, you're asked to convert an integer data type to a string data type and then print it out. So I'll just make variable a equal to 27. And then I'll say a is equal to or string a to convert it to a string. And then I'll say print a. And this would be the answer to the third question. Now for the operation question. So for number 4, you were asked to make operations that would make this true. 47 question mark or 49 question mark 47. Sorry about that. So the operations that would make this true is greater than equal to, and these are the 2 ones that make it true. Everything else would make it false. Now for the 5th question, we were asked to make this false. 49 question 39. So for this, you would do less than or equal to 39, less than 39, and remember, equal to 39, because 40 is not equal to 39. And then for the last one, you were asked to make this true. So what would you do for this? Well, the first one I would do is equal to. Then I would say 10 is greater than or equal to 10, because it is equal to 10. And then 10 is less than or equal to 10. And these are all the answers to the assignment.